Tonight, President Biden discussed the political temperature of the country with Lester Holt. He said that it was a mistake to use the word bullseye while discussing Mr. Trump. And he also said that people should focus on the actions of his political rival.
Well, let's talk about the conversation this has started, and it's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat. On a call a week ago, you said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that won't accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on what he's saying.
And you can see the rest of that one-on-one interview with President Joe Biden in about 40 minutes. The full unedited interview airs at 6 p.m. on 12 News.
And 12 News political insider Bram Resnick is here now as we look ahead to a busy night in the political world. It's going to be a busy week with the RNC going on. Just 2 days after the attempted assassination of former President Trump, Biden is sitting down, as we just heard, with Lester Holt tonight. I'm wondering how he needs to come off in that interview. Does he need to come off empathetic? I would think he needs to come off presidential, because certainly many are saying that President Trump seemed very strong and lion-like after getting wounded and pumped his fist in the air. How does Mr. Biden need to come off tonight?
Oh, look, it's a horrible moment for our country, a cataclysmic moment for our country. He needs to come off as presidential, somewhat above the fray. At the same time, as you heard there in that little snippet, he is still a candidate for president and has to make that case in the midst of the Republican National Convention going on right now. It's a really challenging moment for President Biden. At the same time, while he's trying to hang on to his nomination, while folks inside his party say, we're not sure you're the right guy. But I think bottom line, needs to be presidential, needs to rise above and show he recognizes just the gravity of this situation for the country.
And Bram, timing-wise, I feel like this is a huge week for the Biden administration, because these war drums for him to step aside are not going to go away. So he needs to, and the DNC needs to, decide what we are going to do about this issue.
Yeah, and to be clear, this interview was scheduled before the assassination attempt over the weekend, and the president decided to go ahead with it. This is his third primetime appearance in the last 18 days since that disastrous debate. So far, the polling has not moved in the right direction with the president, despite what he has said in the past in one of those interviews. He's down maybe 3 points if you trust the polling. It's not going in his direction. There might be a bit of a respite during the Republican National Convention. Let the Republicans have the spotlight, do their thing, and then afterwards, perhaps next week, you might see the Democrats engaging again in this conversation over whether Joe Biden should be the nominee.
President Biden, former President Trump, chose J.D. Vance today as his vice presidential pick. A new Newsweek poll shows that Biden has actually gained ground over the last few weeks since the debate. And I'm wondering if J.D. Vance helps stop the bleeding for the Trump campaign by bringing that Midwest sensibility to the table.
Well, again, polling-wise, it appears Donald Trump is ahead based on some of the polls I've seen. You know, it's really interesting. J.D. Vance, he might help Donald Trump in the 3 states that President Biden must win: Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. J.D. Vance, a Midwesterner, may relate more, may be more relatable. Certainly Donald Donald Trump thinks so. But it's unclear whether a vice presidential nominee can even help. The last one I remember helping was back in 2008 when Arizona Senator John McCain chose Sarah Palin, mayor of a small town in Alaska, as his running mate. John McCain got a pretty good bounce coming out of the Republican convention after picking Palin. But as you might remember, Mark, it didn't last very long.
No, it lasted until the question, what do you like to read?
Although I was there that night,
Yeah.
and the excitement in that crowd was off the charts.
Yeah, I remember
she stepped
too.
up there.
I remember too, until the question. Graham, thanks.